Her daughter's husband watched her go inside. The garage door closed at 9:50 p.m. Smart garage. There's a log. That detail matters later. 4 hours after that garage door closed, a man in a ski mask walked up to her front porch. He had a backpack so full, it looked like he was going camping. He had a gun holster, placed directly in front of his body in a way that no law enforcement officer, no military veteran, no trained professional ever wears a holster. Dead center, like he wanted to look as terrifying as possible. He tried to cover her Google Nest doorbell camera with his gloved hand first. Then he went and grabbed branches and foliage from outside and tried to stuff it into the camera lens. When that didn't work, he ripped the camera off the wall entirely. At 2:28 in the morning, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her phone. That's the moment. That's when she was moved far enough from her house that the Bluetooth signal couldn't reach her device anymore. That is, as precisely as modern technology allows us to know, the minute Nancy Guthrie was taken. She has not been seen since. She is 84 years old. She needs daily medication to stay alive. She has a pacemaker inside her chest. She has 4 grandchildren who cover her in kisses. She has 3 children who have been standing in front of cameras for weeks saying, "Mama, please come home." And as of this video, 43 days later, nobody knows where she is. This is the Nancy Guthrie case, and there is a lot that nobody is telling you. Let me tell you who Nancy is before we go anywhere else. Because her daughter is famous, and in cases like this, the famous person tends to become the story. But Nancy is not a supporting character in Savannah Guthrie's life. She is the main character in her own. Nancy and her husband Charles met at the University of Kentucky. They built a life together. They had 3 children, Annie, Cameron, and Savannah. Charles passed away years ago, which meant that by February 2026, Nancy was living alone in her home in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona, a beautiful area, elevated, isolated in the way that expensive Tucson neighborhoods are, houses sitting on acre lots, separated by 40-foot saguaro cactuses, no streetlights because of the city's astronomy ordinances. The kind of neighborhood where you genuinely cannot see your neighbor's front door from your own front yard. Nancy is 84. She has mobility issues. She uses hearing aids, which means when she takes them off at night, she hears considerably less than you or I would. She has a pacemaker. She takes daily prescription medication that she cannot go without. She cannot drive herself, but here is what every single person who loves her says when they talk about her. And I want you to hold on to this. She is sharp, mentally, completely, fully present, funny, spunky, clever, engaged with the world. Savannah's family has said it in every interview. Her children recorded a video to whoever has her and said, "Talk to her, you will see." Her youngest daughter, Savannah, is the co-host of the Today Show on NBC. She was supposed to be co-hosting coverage of the Winter Olympics for the network in February. She could not go. On February 1st, 2026, someone took her mother. Her older daughter, Annie, is a writer and jeweler who teaches creative writing at the University of Arizona. She lives 10 minutes from Nancy. Her husband is a man named Tommaso, and we will come back to him because the internet has made him a central figure in this story in a way that law enforcement has explicitly and forcefully pushed back on. Annie and Tommaso have a young child together. Her son Cameron is a former Air National Guard F-16 pilot, retired. He has appeared in the family's public videos, composed and steady in the way that military people sometimes are when everything around them is falling apart. On January 31st, a Saturday, Nancy took an Uber to Annie and Tommaso's house for dinner. She cannot drive, so she Ubers. That detail is important. She plays games, she eats. She has a good evening with her daughter and son-in-law. At 9:48 p.m., Tommaso drops her off at home. The garage door closes at 9:50. 4 hours later, the man with the backpack arrives. Let me walk you through the timeline because I think the specific details matter more than the summary. At 1:47 in the morning, the Google Nest doorbell camera is disconnected from power. This is not the camera's footage going dark. This is the camera being physically separated from its power source. The footage that the FBI eventually recovered, and we will talk about how they got it, stops here in terms of the main camera. At 2:12 a.m., motion is detected on a secondary camera source. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her phone via Bluetooth. The pacemaker is inside her body. It communicates with her phone wirelessly when she's nearby. When it stops communicating, she has moved beyond Bluetooth range, which in a home setting is approximately 30 feet. She is out of the house. There is a 41-minute window between when the doorbell camera goes dark and when the pacemaker disconnects. 41 minutes. Inside that house, with Nancy. Nobody knows what happened in those 41 minutes. There are blood droplets on the front porch, confirmed by authorities to be Nancy's blood. Not a pool, not a trail, droplets. Which tells investigators something, but exactly what it tells them has not been made public. Nancy's phone, keys, ID, and wallet appear to have been left behind. This detail has not been formally confirmed by law enforcement, but it has been reported by multiple outlets. If true, it matters, because those are the things you would need if your intent was to slowly access someone's finances. Or alternatively, they're the things you'd leave behind if you were moving fast and moving a person. The next morning is Sunday. Nancy has a weekly tradition. She takes an Uber to a girlfriend's house, and they all watch the live stream of Savannah's church in New York City together. Every Sunday, it's a ritual. It's the kind of thing an 84-year-old woman with a sharp mind and devoted friendships does to stay connected to the people she loves. She doesn't show up. Her friends call Annie. Annie drives to the house. 7 minutes after she arrives, she calls 911. I want to stop here and ask you something, because I think it's important. Why does a man bring a full backpack to an elderly woman's house at 2 a.m? What's in it? A few theories. The backpack could contain empty duffel bags to fill with valuables, jewelry, cash, small items. That's the robbery theory. The backpack could contain equipment, zip ties, restraints, materials for transporting a person. That's the kidnapping theory. Or, and this is the one that people don't want to say out loud, but that the shape of this crime increasingly suggests, the backpack could contain something you bring when you know you need to clean up a scene. A tarp. Nancy's blood stops at the front porch. It doesn't trail to a vehicle. It doesn't continue down the driveway. It stops, which means either Nancy was contained very quickly after bleeding, or the scene was managed before she was moved. The backpack is full. Nobody goes camping at 2 a.m. in a ski mask. Now let me tell you about the ransom note, because this is where the case gets genuinely complicated in a way that former law enforcement and professional negotiators have been publicly struggling with. On the night of February 2nd, approximately 24 hours after Nancy disappeared, a local Tucson news station received a message submitted through their tip line. Not an email, not a phone call, a form, like a contact form on a website. You've seen these. Enter your name, enter your message, submit. That's how the ransom note arrived. 2 other news outlets received what appear to be similar notes. Then, TMZ received one. The notes, to the extent their contents have been reported, demand $4 to $6 million in Bitcoin. First deadline, February 6th, for $4 million. Second deadline, February 9th, for $6 million. If neither deadline is met, the implication is clear. There is no proof of life in the notes. No photo, no video, no detail that only Nancy could know. Nothing that verifiably proves she was alive when the notes were written. Harvey Levin of TMZ said publicly that the note begins by saying she is safe but scared, and that she knows exactly what the demand is. But that is Harvey Levin. That is not law enforcement. That is not verified. Here is what professional negotiators and former law enforcement have said about these notes, and I think their skepticism is important. Ransom makers do not want publicity. That is the first rule. If you are holding someone for $4 to $6 million in Bitcoin, the last thing you want is your demand on every television screen in America. You want quiet. You want a direct line. You want the transaction to happen privately, quickly, and then you want to disappear. Sending the note to 3 news outlets and TMZ is the opposite of that. Either this was someone who fundamentally misunderstood how ransom negotiations work, or this was someone who wanted attention more than money. Or, and this is the theory that multiple experts have raised, the notes are not from whoever actually has Nancy. They are opportunists, people who saw the story go viral and decided to try to extract money from a famous family in a chaotic moment. The FBI arrested a man named Derek Kella, a 42-year-old former clerk at the LA County DA's office, charged with fraud weeks earlier, who had texted the family asking if they had the Bitcoin yet. He tracked down their numbers through public records, watched the story online, and decided to try his luck. He was arrested, charged, and has nothing to do with Nancy's disappearance. One imposter has been caught, the original notes still stand, and the deadlines have long passed with no payment, no further contact, and no proof of life. Drop your city in the comments right now. This community reaches everywhere, and I want to see it. And if this is your first time here, this is Close Circle Crime Stories. We stay with the cases that matter until there is nothing left to say. Hit subscribe. It means everything. Now I need to talk about the investigation, because the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance has been, depending on who you ask, either a massive coordinated federal response doing everything right under enormous pressure, or a somewhat disorganized operation run by a sheriff's department that was not built for this kind of case. In conflict with the FBI it needs, led by a man whose personality and communication style has made everything harder. The Pima County Sheriff's Department is the primary investigating agency. Sheriff Chris Nanos is the face of the investigation. He has held multiple press conferences. He has appeared on multiple news programs. He has, in those appearances, said things that made people feel better and things that made people feel significantly worse. Here are some direct quotes from his press conferences, and I want you to hear them in sequence. When asked if this was a random or targeted abduction, "We're looking at all the leads and we don't know. We're going to assume both sides." When asked if he had any information about what Nancy was wearing or what car she might have left in, "We do not." When asked if one or more people were involved, "Just no clue. It could have been one. It could have been more." When asked if Nancy is still alive, "We hope we are. We hope we are." When asked what the motive might be, "My guesswork is as good as yours. I am not saying Sheriff Nanos is a bad investigator or a bad person. I am saying that those are the public statements of a man who is either being strategically opaque to protect the investigation, which is entirely legitimate, or who is genuinely uncertain about the most basic parameters of the crime after 6 weeks of investigation." The president of the Pima County Sheriff's Employees Union gave an interview to News Nation reporter Brian Enton that went largely unnoticed nationally, and I think it deserves more attention. He said that Sheriff Nanos has an ego that's difficult to describe without sounding hyperbolic, and that it drives a lot of his decision-making. He said Nanos is very retaliatory, and that his preferred method of retaliation is transfers, moving people out of units, affecting readiness across the department. He said most of the detectives in the homicide unit are relatively inexperienced because experienced people have been transferred or left. This is the unit investigating the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. The FBI is involved. That much is clear. Special agents from Quantico were brought in. Crisis negotiators were brought in. The FBI's director, Kash Patel, personally tweeted the doorbell footage when it was released. President Trump told reporters he believed the case had strong clues and might be resolved soon. But the relationship between the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department is not clean. In 2016, the FBI investigated the Sheriff's Department for allegedly using RICO forfeiture funds, money seized from criminals, to bankroll renovations of a cafe inside their own headquarters, pay for award ceremonies, Santa sleighs, rented tuxedos, and goodie bags. A whistleblower alleged the total was approximately $250,000 over several years. One officer who was considered central to the alleged scheme was found dead by suicide on Father's Day during the investigation. The FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department have been carrying that history for 10 years. They are now working the same kidnapping case together in front of the entire country with an 84-year-old woman's life potentially in the balance. That tension showed up in a specific and important way. When investigators found what they believed to be key DNA evidence inside Nancy's house, DNA that did not match Nancy, her family, or any regular visitor, the FBI offered to send it to Quantico for analysis. The sheriff said no. He sent it to a private lab in Florida that his department uses regularly. His explanation was logistical, keeping all evidence in one place, one chain of custody, one lab to testify at trial. That is a defensible argument. It is also the kind of argument that sounds more defensible than it actually is when you consider that Quantico is the premier forensic facility in the world, and this is the highest profile kidnapping case in America. The DNA results from the Florida lab have not been made public. I need to address the internet theories, not because I believe them, but because I think ignoring them entirely is dishonest. And because I think the way the internet responded to this case tells us something important about where we are in 2026 when a high-profile crime goes unsolved for weeks. Annie Guthrie's husband, Tommaso, became a person of interest for large portions of the internet. Not for law enforcement, the sheriff explicitly and repeatedly cleared the entire Guthrie family, including all siblings and spouses, saying they had been cooperative and were victims. But the internet is not bound by what law enforcement says. The reasons people focused on Tommaso were, he was the last person known to have dropped Nancy off. He was initially absent from the family's public videos. When he appeared at a memorial walk, people took screenshots comparing his gait and build to the man in the doorbell footage. The doorbell footage shows the suspect crouching to pick up foliage, and people compared this to Tommaso crouching to place flowers. I want to be direct about this. Law enforcement cleared him. The comparison of gait and build to a man in a ski mask is not evidence. The fact that he dropped Nancy off, which means he was one of the last people to see her safely home, does not make him suspicious. It makes him someone investigators would absolutely want to talk to, which they did, and they cleared him. The danger of this kind of internet pressure in an active investigation is real. The sheriff said it explicitly. It makes people afraid to cooperate. It pushes potential leads away. It creates noise that buries signal. It also, in the case of Tommaso, caused a member of a grieving family who was actively cooperating with investigators to be publicly accused of murdering his mother-in-law while he was simultaneously trying to help find her. A delivery driver named Rio from Rio Rico, Arizona, was detained and had his house searched after someone thought his eyes matched the doorbell footage. He was held for 5 hours. His son was handcuffed inside the house while playing Nintendo with headphones on. His wife was detained during a traffic stop. He was released. He has not been formally cleared or charged. He told reporters he felt like he was the one being kidnapped. A man in a gray Range Rover was pulled over in a dramatic SWAT operation. His elderly mother was also detained. The Range Rover was covered with a tarp and processed, then released back to him. No charges. 6 weeks in, no arrest. No confirmed proof of life. The deadlines on the ransom notes have passed. The FBI has pulled much of its personnel. The road leading to Nancy's house has been sectioned off and the media tents are gone, and Nancy Guthrie is still missing. Here is where I land on this case, and I want to be honest about what I know and what I don't. The doorbell footage shows a man who came prepared. He knew the house. He walked up to the porch without looking over his shoulder, the way people do when they're uncertain about a location. He knew where the camera was, or discovered it quickly enough. He came with a full backpack, a weapon, and a plan that took 41 minutes to execute. This is not a random home invasion. This is not someone who saw an opportunity and acted impulsively. This was planned. The specific Ozark Trail backpack he carries is sold exclusively at Walmart, which tells investigators something about the economic profile of the suspect and has allowed them to look at purchase records. His build is estimated at 5'9" to 5'10", average build. His gun holster placement is unusual enough that several firearms experts have commented on it publicly. It does not match military, law enforcement, or standard concealed carry positioning. The ransom notes are the wild card. If they are legitimate, if whoever sent them genuinely has Nancy, then she was alive when they were written and there is a negotiation pathway. If they are not legitimate, if they were sent by opportunists, or if the person who has Nancy never intended to return her, then the 41-minute window becomes the defining fact of this case, and the questions about what happened inside that house take on a different and darker weight. Savannah Guthrie's most recent video, according to reporting, contains language that suggests the family is beginning to prepare for the possibility that Nancy may not be alive. That shift in tone from earlier videos is the most heartbreaking development of this entire case, because it means that the people who love Nancy most are beginning to do the thing that families in these situations eventually have to do: hold two things at once: the hope that she is coming home and the grief that she might not. Her children said in one of their videos, "We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it." That sentence, from people who have spent 6 weeks not sleeping, not eating properly, managing investigators and media and internet theories while simultaneously losing their mother, that sentence is one of the most quietly devastating things I have heard in any true crime case I have covered. Nancy Guthrie is funny and spunky and clever. She has grandchildren who crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She chooses joy. her daughter said. Day after day, despite great trials of pain and grief, she watches church on a live stream every Sunday with her girlfriends. She takes an Uber to dinner because she can't drive, and she goes anyway. She is 84 years old, and she is fully, completely, sharply alive in her mind and in her relationships and in the lives of the people who love her. She deserves to come home. Drop your city in the comments. Tell me what you think happened. Tell me what the theory is that you keep coming back to. And subscribe if you want to be here when this case breaks. Because when it does, this channel will cover it immediately. A $1 million reward is still active. If you have any information, call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or go to tips.fbi.gov. I'll see you in the next one.